All right, welcome to today's episode of Couch Chats. Joining me on the couch today, I've got Luke and Carol from Mindset Mastery NLP. I'm your host, Bex, and we're talking about relationships today. So welcome on.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having us.
I'm really excited to talk to you about relationships today.
Yeah.
Seems to be a topic of conversation that a lot of people are having at the moment in particular. Not just intimate relationships, but relationships in the workplace.
Yeah.
Friends, family, children.
Yeah.
And the dynamic has changed a little bit, I'm finding. And in the pandemic, we obviously saw a spike in divorce rates.
100%.
Yeah. What is your perspective on that? I'm going to open up a can of worms here. Let's go, this is juicy.
Yeah, well, I mean, we actually saw a lot of people being locked down together, not being able to go to work, but then seeing a different dynamic in the relationship, and there were a lot of relationships breaking down.
Yes.
And you know, they weren't understanding, well, what the hell? Like, what the hell is going on? And I think, for a lot of people, it was being in each other's pockets all the time, and that I've got no privacy, I've got no space. And it really hurt people.
Do you think that it's just that people spent so much time together that they realise that they just don't like each other anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you get so caught up in your life. You go to work every day, so you have your hours in the office, right? Maybe 8-10 hours away from each other each day.
Yep.
And then if you've got children, you focus a lot of attention on your children. And then if you have your hobbies and things like that, but take all of that away and all you have left is each other, you're confronted with the fact that maybe I just don't like you anymore.
Yeah, and also that's something that actually happens.
I was about to say exactly the
when
same thing.
People, they have their life, they have their children, they're raising their children.
Yep.
And then all the focus sometimes is on the kids.
The
Kids leave. They're left with two strangers looking at each other going, who are you?
100%.
I don't know you. For the last 30 years, I've been raising these tiny humans into being amazing people that they are.
Yes.
And they've neglected, for one, the
Each
relationship
other.
with themselves to
Yeah.
know who they are. They've neglected their own personal hobbies, goals, dreams, because they've focused it all on their children.
Yeah.
And then they've neglected completely the relationship with their partner.
And they actually forget what it was that brought them together in the first place. But then you've got another side where, if a relationship is in trouble or in a crisis, what will sometimes happen is the focus will be on the children. So I'm going to just put all of this under the rug. I'm going to sweep all this under the rug. I'm just going to ignore it. I'm going to put all of this focus on the children. And then that's another reason why relationships break down.
Yeah, and it was funny because I was just talking to you before about watching things on TikTok this morning, and that was something that was brought up as well, is that when children come into a relationship, and I know this from my own personal experience as well, it changes the whole dynamic of everything. And as a woman, we've got this connection to our children. So it's a natural, a natural connection for us to be so close and so nurturing and so loving. But then the partner can be jealous of that love and connection too.
Well, we could spend hours here.
Yeah, but isn't that right? And it's something that I've probably been guilty of myself without even knowing, right? Because you love these tiny people so much and you just want to do right by them, but then you forget. I mean, self-care for yourself is something that you forget about as a mum and as a woman and as a wife and everything, and then you unknowingly neglect your partner at the same time.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's really important, and it's probably been more evident since Luke and I have been together, because, I mean, we've both been married before. We've both had relationships after marriage, and then we've come together. And I guess the thing that we have learnt is we actually have to put each other first.
Yeah.
We have adult children, right?
It's a bit easier when they're adults.
It's much easier, but I mean, I think like my youngest son was
13.
13. your son was, Lee was,
He was 11.
11. So, you know, it was an interesting time, but I thought, you know what, we've got to do things differently because if you don't do things differently, you basically bring the old bricks from the old house and then you end up building the same house.
On the flip side to that too, though, I have seen relationships where people put so much focus on their partner and then neglect their children as well.
Yeah, well, you've got to find that happy. You've got to
That's
find
the
that
hard
happy
part, right?
medium.
Finding that balance.
Yeah.
But also communicate to the children that, you know, this is also our opportunity, because we fill our own cup up, we can also give more to you guys as well. So there's a lot of balancing that's going on. It's a little bit saying, like, if you're a single parent, it's like, well, find that balance of like, well, you know, mum or dad's about to do some self-care so I can be my best version to show it for you guys.
Yeah.
And yes, you might be disappointed for a short period of time, but
They adjust, they adapt, because I've been
Absolutely.
through this. I've been through that, you know, in particular. And my little girl, she was coming along to Pilates classes with me and she's like, this is boring that I have to sit here for an hour. And I went, you know what? I sit and I watch you do gymnastics. I sit and I watch you do swimming lessons. And guess what? It's actually boring for me.
Yep.
So let's help
Truth
each other
bomb.
out. Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like, let's be honest about it.
Absolutely.
Like, I do this for you. And I don't particularly enjoy it. Like, I love you and I love watching you grow, but it goes both ways. It's a two-way relationship.
Absolutely.
Where...
And bring that awareness
Yes.
at a young age for them as well. So it's like we've conditioned, you know, our boys, you know, from a young age. It's like, well, yes, we are going away for the weekend, you know. And I can remember, you know, when Nick was quite young, it's like, this is your first weekend by yourself.
He had his dad with him.
Yeah, but I
so
mean,
we weren't leaving him at home by himself.
but I'm talking about, like, just giving that opportunity for us to be away.
Yes.
And getting used to that kind of pattern, and then we'd go to Sydney to do our training.
Yeah.
As he got older, we were going to Sydney for a whole week.
And now it's like, well, when are you going away?
Yeah.
Well, they're probably,
Well,
it's funny when they get to the age where they're, so I had that with my older sons.
Yeah.
I remember going to Byron Bay for a weekend and they were old enough that I could leave them there and their dad was just like same suburb, like just down the road, so very close by. I knew that they could like go between if they wanted to. My son's like, yeah, cool, see ya. I got back, my house was immaculate.
Yeah, same.
And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, you guys have cleaned the house.
You need
This
to
is
go
so
away more
good.
often.
No, because he had this massive party that he was trying to hide the evidence. So his attempts to hide the evidence was to go and like make everything
Don't
spotless.
listen to the recycle bin getting emptied on the Thursday.
But I mean, I was okay with that anyway. I was just like, you know, you trust your children, but I thought, how funny. So they do get to a point where they're wanting you to go away and they respect that space with each other.
But also too, you know, flipping back to, you know, during those times with COVID and like living together, is, you know, we found that we were holding space for each other a lot. So if someone was going through something, like I didn't see my son for like 3.5 months.
That's tough, isn't it?
And and we didn't know what the rules were for me to drive, because he's over 100 kilometres away, a couple-hour drive, and it was like, you know, I had those moments where I was feeling, you know, quite in my goop.
Yeah.
But also Carol holding that space for me. So while I was in that space, it's temporary, it's not forever.
Yeah.
And before you know it, like, things change, because then you can kind of aim for what you really desire. And the desire was, I need to spend some time with my boy. And that happened within the space of a handful of days. We worked out some solutions, and before you know it, he was in. I think it was the Father's Day, I think it was. That was that first time that we picked him up and we spent a couple of good weekends together doing a catch up.
Yeah, and I think COVID kind of went either way for some people. It either tore their relationship apart because it was very confronting. As like their blinkers came off and they're open to what they saw in front of them. Or for other people, it just brought that closeness together, and it really elevated other people's relationships too.
It's about team, and like we always say, even with our household, it's like we're a team. Yeah. You know, we want to work as a team to, you know, if someone's a bit unwell, we can hold space for them, or can we create a solution so they can feel better? You know, it's like, it's not, well, in our world, it's not that difficult to speak it. But we also have a rule that if you are in your group, not to stay there. Like, express the emotion that you need to express, and then move forward through that, rather than, you know, suppressing that emotion and then like then you're just kind of building on that. So then it might be some little small thing that happens in the household, and then you're blown up like Mount Vesuvius. And we've seen this happen a lot where couples come into, we'll say it's therapy, inverted commas. They come into a session with us, and we would classify as like a discovery session. So we're there for a couple of hours, and they start to unpack all the things. And the things that they're unpacking are normally like not big things. They're quite small things, but built over a long period of time, which makes it a big problem.
But do you find it is a combination of all those small things, essentially, in relationships? Like, it's generally not one big thing.
No.
It's all those little things that people kind of teach you growing up just to...
under the carpet.
Yeah, just let it go. It's fine. Move on from it. And, pick your battles, which
absolutely
good in a sense, but they compound.
And the thing is, if you sweep enough crap under the carpet,
it's going to overflow.
It's going to overflow.
We've seen it happen.
We have seen it time after time after time, and at the end of the day, it's going to come back down to communication.
Yeah.
Communication, and be in a relationship where you can actually speak up.
But speak effectively as well, right? Because there's different ways of communication, and people say, communication. Shouting at each other is not an effective way of communicating.
It doesn't improve the argument.
Being abusive, things like that. Let's talk about effective communication and respectful communication.
Yeah, of course.
And being clear. But I think that also comes down to knowing who you are, right? And having that relationship with yourself first to build a solid foundation in a relationship like you two have.
Yeah.
And I think also this is probably my first time in my whole life where I can express something without the fear of going, is she going to leave me because I'm expressing my truth? And it could be something really simple. It could be, hey babe, I feel like at this moment I'm not being heard.
Yeah.
That's the way I deliver that.
How beautiful is that?
Yeah, so I'm not feeling heard. I'll just go, can we just kind of slow it back a bit? She might be really busy. I'm studying, I'm doing all these other things.
Yeah.
I say, okay, can we just take a step back for a moment? Let's have a chat for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And when we do that and have that open, honest conversation, it's like it gets solved really, really quickly. And it's not going to that, how about I'll just shut my mouth?
Yeah.
And
or someone going, you're not freaking listening.
Yeah,
that's a different delivery.
It's a different delivery.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if I, when I reflect on, we'll call it the learnings from previous relationships, where small things would blow up really quickly, like 0 to 100, or I call it World War 10, in a very short period of time over something that was so trivial of like an event that happened 6 months beforehand, and I was like, I've forgotten about that event. We've moved, but they've held on to that one event so hard. And I think what happened during the whole COVID thing was that there was a lot of data collected in those relationships that weren't happy. So, all right, I wasn't happy about this, and this. So they're waiting for that moment of like when they're feeling frustrated, and then they blow up about the whole thing. And then you've got other issues like, domestic violence starts coming into play. And there was a very high rate of domestic violence during those times.
There was.
So it's like what we were doing from our end, like we were doing a lot of lives, Facebook lives, not so much on Instagram, mainly Facebook, and just sharing with people like just some of the tools that you could use, how to communicate more effectively. And tonality was one of the conversations that was quite paramount in how you deliver that information. If you're not happy about something, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's how you deliver that, and also doing it respectfully. And I think that when you do it that way, you've got more of a chance of actually reconnecting or connecting at a different level with your partner. So you're not taking it to World War 10 very quickly, because misunderstanding, I think, is probably one of the root causes of a lot of relationships breaking down. I thought you meant this. No, I
misunderstanding, miscommunication,
non-communication,
not understanding how to communicate effectively as well. So there were lots of challenges, lots and lots of challenges. And when we're working with couples, there's this little criteria that we look at. So in regard to the relationship as a whole, we actually say to them, well, where do you see yourself in a year? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Because it actually brings them back to shit, we don't have a vision.
I was going to say, how many people, if you asked where you wanted to be, you know, in a year's time or 5 years' time, whether that's on an individual level or as a couple, how many people go, I don't know.
Yeah, but you know what? If you're not growing, you're dying, right? So what we teach is about, first of all, you know, there's all of these different elements of, you know, yes, who are you? Do you have a relationship with self? You know, do you know who you are? Because like you said before, you've got to have a sense of self before you can even step into a relationship with someone else. Okay, what is it that you want? Okay, what do you want in a partner? What are the attributes that you would like in a partner? You know, people sometimes get very confused between, you know, attributes and values. Okay, our values are the things that are important to us. Attributes are, what do you want in a person? Okay, what are you going to tolerate? What are you not going to tolerate? Like, so when Luke and I got together, like we had a beautiful friendship to start with, and then, you know, we started dating, and I had one non-negotiable, and that non-negotiable was I don't date smokers. He was a smoker.
How did this happen? Okay, you're not a smoker anymore though?
No. So when I was already smoking like 5 a day. Like I cut down like to 5 a day. Never smoked in front of Carol, even more
Never
friends.
saw him smoking ever.
Didn't smoke.
Really?
He was embarrassed.
Yeah. And but then we came to, you know, the whole dating thing was like, give me 7 days. So it was the 22nd of April. Then by her birthday, which was a week later, I'd given up. I'd just went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom, done.
Yeah.
And is that because you obviously valued Carol so much as a person?
Yeah, and I knew it was time. It was this whole timing thing. It's like, well, you know,
that's like that little push that you needed.
I value my health, and this person values her health. What a great way to connect and grow forward. Because, and also to, you know, cigarettes are very expensive.
They are.
You know, like I see now,
and I don't want to kiss an ashtray.
No.
I would not date a smoker either.
Yes.
And there's no disrespect to smokers, but it's more about having an awareness of like, well, and we had this conversation a lot. You know, when clients come through and they've got some sort of addiction, whether it's alcohol or drinking, it's like, just imagine you're with a partner, let's say it's your second major relationship or third, and you're in your 40s or your late 30s, and you think, okay, if you've got a vision for this relationship for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, do you really want to be looking after that person who's not looking after their health? So by the time they hit their 70s or even 60s, that they're basically, there's no value, as in there's they can't get up in the morning properly, they might be overweight, they've got some health issues because they drink too much or smoke, they can't run, they can't walk. So do you really want to be just playing nurse or doctor for that person for the rest of your life? There'd be a lot of resentment there in that relationship.
For sure.
So it's like, and not saying that may or may not happen, but if you've got a good start of like being relatively healthy and looking after yourself, well, wouldn't be the kind of person you'd want to grow with as you do get older? Yeah, like where you can be active in your 80s.
But also I feel as though, so for me, I'm very much into health and fitness and, or, you know, always trying to be the best version of who I can be. So for me to have another person that values that, you know, I'm not a big drinker. I'll have one drink every so often. I eat healthy, I exercise. But I also, when I'm single, but when I look at someone, the way that they respect and value themselves is the way they're going to respect and value you. Absolutely. So if they don't have that level of self-respect, of taking care of themselves and being healthy and doing the work on themselves to be of sound mind and all of those things, then they're not going to respect you.
And we had to do a lot of work on ourselves prior to getting together because, you know, as I'd spoken to you before, like Luke and I were both married before. We had long marriages. I was, you know, with my ex-husband for 20 years.
That's a long time.
That's a long time.
So I've had like 3 relationships that probably equate to that.
Yeah, so
but one's a lot.
So 20 years we were together.
Yeah.
And, you know, we still have a really good relationship, you know, thank goodness, which is really good. But then after that, you know, I manifested probably the most challenging relationship, or one of the most challenging relationships I've ever had.
But
so both of us, like we'd been in marriages and then went into something that we thought was good but ended up being really toxic.
The frying pan into the fire.
Exactly, right?
It was like that.
It was, I think the biggest learnings probably came from those relationships, because for me personally, it actually allowed me to get really clear on what I wanted in a person, what I would tolerate, what I would not tolerate, and then absolutely respecting and loving myself enough to go, you know what, the next relationship I have, it's going to be different, you know, and I even had a list.
Oh, the list.
I had a list.
Oh, the list. Luke's like, oh, bloody hell, the list.
No, I did. And I mean, we teach this in our relationships course. Like, you've got to have absolute clarity. And that was the biggest lesson of my life in the relationship that taught me a ton. You know, it was clarity. What do you want, Carol? What do you really want? Get specific, woman, because I was not specific. So I had a list. So after when my first marriage split up, I had a list of all the things that I wanted in the next relationship that I was going to manifest in my life. But the challenge was I was not clear. So on the list I wanted someone who would say no. I wanted someone to challenge me.
You got your challenge.
I got my challenge. Like, oh my God, so much. And it was toxic and it was awful, right? So I had to get really clear after that relationship. I had to add to the list. So I had this list, then I had another list, and I just kept adding to the list. And it's like, right, I want this, 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 and this. 3 pages it was.
That is an impressive list.
It was very detailed.
I need to create a list like this.
And
that's, I think, my hardest part is being clear at the moment. Because I don't know. I want a relationship, but I don't want a relationship. I'm like, I'm happy by myself, but I want the right one. That's the thing. I don't want one because of the bad ones that I've had.
And the most important thing there is that if you are happy with someone or you're happy without someone, that's when the doors open, because you're not looking.
But do you think, like, something for me that I went through was, obviously I was in that very toxic relationship too, which taught me a great deal, but the thing that I was lacking the most was my self-worth. And that was a very confronting thing, whereas I was very successful in every part of my life except for that relationships. And it was having the fear that I wasn't worthy of something better than that, and not going for that relationship that I really wanted because I felt like I wasn't worthy of that. So that's something that comes to light for a lot of people.
I was like that in my 30s, you know, thinking that the belief, and this is all like going down the rabbit hole of NLP, but you know, the belief, or the limiting belief that I'm going to be left on the shelf. Yeah,
so people just grab at anything and I did that because
I did that too.
I wanted to be married, right? That was my priorities. I wanted to be married because I already had children, and the standard from society was that single mums, you know, whatever. But so I just wanted to prove to everyone that I could be married and have a marriage.
Or marriage material, as you would call it.
Exactly. And I wanted the husband, the wife, the picket fence, and the 2.5 children. That is what we were raised to believe. Exactly. So I grabbed relationships for the sake of anyone that accepted myself and my situation, as it was called. That's what I settled for.
I understand that.
Key word right there. Settled.
Settled, exactly. And it's taken me a long time to realise. And I'm not saying that all those men were bad, but they just weren't the right people for me.
And the thing is, what we've got to also realise is that we need to acknowledge back then, that's who we were. Back then.
Past tense.
And it was the right thing at the time. Or you thought it was the right thing at the time. I mean, I look back on that relationship and I go, oh my God,
it's like a bad dream.
Carol, what were you thinking? But it was also a reflection of where I was.
Exactly, right.
So at the time, it was what I thought I needed.
And it's what you knew at the time.
Yes.
And that version of yourself that had not yet healed and not gone through those other, let's call them learning experiences that we all encountered later on, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what we tend to do, and I mean, I'm sure you'll agree, is that, you know, you'll go into something and that little red flag will just pop up and you'll go, oh, it's okay. I can help them through that.
Yeah.
And we really believe that we can change the person to be what we want them to be. But you know what? That's who they are.
And the thing is, and that's something that I did, I just wanted to help people because deep down I wanted that help.
Yeah.
So I was trying to help.
It's like you've got a sign going, pick me, pick me.
Yeah. But you can't also date someone for the potential of what you want them to be, right?
That's right.
That's what you learn.
Yes. And it's good to see potential in people. Yeah. But you can't go into a relationship saying, I can make them this person, I can help them do this.
Because they've got to want it.
That's it. They have to want it at the core themselves. They want to be a motivated person, someone who wants that success. And, you know, you can support and encourage someone in a relationship, but you can't want to change them to be the person that you want them to be.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge that I found in both those two major relationships was that they were not happy with me growing at the rate that I was growing. And what I mean by that is I had this vision of what we're doing, the kind of work that we do right now. I had that vision like 25 years ago. And I had many roadblocks in those relationships going, why are you always seeking this for? Like, what's your, never said what the purpose was. There was other words thrown in the mix there, which we can't say on camera, but it's more...
family-friendly show, okay.
But it's more about I had this vision. But, and it's true, guys, you've got to have someone, whether it's male or female, beside you, has the same vision as you. Like, I mean, I've challenged Carol quite a fair bit in regards to the vision, and not everything that...
But it's a good challenge. Let's clarify. When we talk about your the toxic relationship, that was a different kind of challenge. But
100%.
In a relationship where you challenge each other in a good way...
it's a growth challenge. It's like level up.
Not
for me, when I'm looking at entering a relationship now, I want to make someone that's, in a sense, more intelligent than me, or maybe more successful, because it's allowing me to sort of want to level up as well.
It gives you an opportunity to
level each other up.
Yeah.
And for them to have, I find it hard to find people have the same kind of vision that I do, because I think on a very large scale, and you've just mentioned before that that's something that was challenging to you in a relationship until obviously you've met Carol and you've both
very
seemed to
similar.
have the same vision.
Yeah, and we had like some of the things that we identified, when we were just friends. It was like, oh, your mum used to be a music teacher. Oh, I used to own my own music school. Oh, you'd say my mum works with special needs adults. Oh, my son's autistic. And
many correlations.
And then Carol said, oh, my oldest son's name's Luke. Oh, so I'm saying that.
Like,
he's left-handed, so
he's
am I.
Left-handed. He's a drummer, so's my son.
So there was all these things that we identified.
The synchronicity.
It was interesting that we had a lot of things in common. That the conversations were very, very easy.
Yes.
So when we talked about the list, and I looked at this list going, oh, that sounds like someone like me. It was like very innocent, organic. There was no...
We had a dinner, and we were just like friends at the time, and we had a dinner together because I'd moved house, and I just said, oh, look, come over, you can be my first house guest. So he came over and anyway, we were just sitting out the back, having a drink, talking about relationships, and I just said, I've actually got a list of what I want in a partner. And he said, can I see it? And I went, sure, why not? Anyway, and he literally said, he goes, oh, that could be me. And I just ignored it.
Was that so it wasn't even like an instant light bulb moment for you? You're just like, eh.
No, because he was sort of seeing someone at the time.
Okay, fair.
So,
so you just dismissed that as an option?
I just dismissed that.
Yeah.
And I thought it was funny that he said that. But I just went, yeah.
So I had a list once upon a time as well. I don't at the moment, but I was dating someone at the time and they asked to see the list. So I showed them and he went, that's not me. I can't be that person. And so, so we went our separate ways.
Yeah, wow.
But, yes.
Yeah.
But I was like, respect.
Yes.
Respect that you can identify that you are not the right person for me.
You.
And it was in that moment we both went, you're not the right person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he ticked every box.
Okay.
On the 3 pages.
This is something that I've been told a lot by people, and this is probably people that have not experienced the best relationships maybe themselves, is that it doesn't exist, right? This is what I get told.
That's interesting.
That my standards are too high and what I want doesn't exist. Yeah.
According to who?
According to who?
Exactly. So, well, most people so far.
Yeah.
And so I naturally lowered my standards because I got told that my expectations were way too high. Doesn't exist. So I would lower them. Whereas now I won't, and I've been single for a long time. But I'm okay with that because I would rather wait for what I want. But yeah, so it comes down to who you talk to. So having a conversation with you, you're like, it does exist. It can exist because you've experienced it.
Yeah.
So I think it comes down to everyone's personal experiences as to, like, be careful who you're having your conversations with, right?
Absolutely, but also who are your people? Like
people close to me.
Yeah. But also in regard to relationships and where are you going to meet people? So the funny thing is, like,
my house.
we connected, like, this is the funniest thing. Luke and I connected on Facebook. Like,
we connected on social media too.
Yeah. Like, I've never dating sites.
I've scrapped those because they are horrendous. But my sister met her husband on a dating site.
Yes.
So it has worked for some people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Very rare occasion, I would say, because
absolutely
my experience has not been
But we connected
great.
on Facebook, and it was purely because Luke, do you want to tell the story?
Yeah, it was, I was looking, because I was moving to the coast from the burbs, and I was looking for like-minded people in the wellness industry. And what was really ironic, that I did a lot of wellness festivals throughout Sydney.
Oh, cool.
And Carol was at a few of those.
3 of them.
Oh, so that's so funny. So you were actually in the same place at the same time and just didn't even know that.
No, I did see her
I got
like corner of my
goosebumps
eye,
again.
and went, oh.
You're like, she's pretty hot.
Well, see, I would have walked straight past him.
Yeah.
And I have no problem in saying that because at our relationships day, when we run our relationships day, I actually throw up a slide of the both of us
where water almost came out your mouth.
Prior to meeting each other, I throw up a slide of the 2 of us, and we don't even look the same.
Yeah.
2013 it was.
Yeah, and so we were. Oh, sorry, I've taken over. You.
It's okay.
Keep telling the story.
Yeah. Oh, with that photo, with.
No. At being in the same places.
Oh yes, yeah. One was at North Sydney Leagues, and I was selling all my superfoods at the back of the place, and Carol was like at the front, doing her thing. I don't know who you were with.
It was with a business networking thing.
And then at the entrance, there was an outdoor one at the entrance, and you walked past even my stall a few times.
Yep.
So there was a lot of things where, like, I'm sure eventually we would have ended up connecting. But what I think is being paramount, and we've shared this with a lot of people, is that building a foundation of friendship is the key. I think you've got to be a friend with them first.
I was going to ask you that question, like your perspective on the importance of a friendship. And it is right. It's the only way to build a solid foundation.
Yeah. If you want to make it long term.
That's right. And it's to get to know someone slowly. And the way you get to know someone as a friend is very different to how you would get to know someone as a relationship.
Absolutely.
Because when you go on a date, for me that's going on dates now, there's this like facade, right?
It's a different expectation.
They're there trying to present themselves in a certain way to appeal to you or to impress you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of the time, once that facade is removed, you see the person for who they are, and it takes a few months in, and you're like, that's not who I met.
Yeah.
Whereas when you meet someone as a friend,
well, the walls are down.
Exactly. You're just who you are, right?
Yeah.
You're just being exactly who you are.
The banter that we used to have in our conversations, like the amount of shit that we used to talk about was just like, oh my God.
Like everyone texts.
But just getting back to how we connected, because we diverted.
That's okay.
Oh yes, I was on Facebook.
So it was on Facebook. He sent me a friend request. And
did you decline him?
No,
that would have been funny.
No, because what I would do is I would go and have a stalk. Of, okay, well, who is this Luke Mollica?
Dude.
Anyway, I went and had a stalk, and this was like back in 2016.
Yes.
2016, right? So at the time, we had 80 friends in common. That was a lot of people.
Back then.
Back then, that was a lot of people, and I just went, oh, right, okay, oh, wow. And in that moment, it was like, yeah, well, okay, well, he's obviously similar-minded, like-minded thinking. And I went, oh, yeah, hell yeah, you know. And I messaged him, and I just said, hey, Luke, thanks for connecting. Mm-hmm. And he came back with, oh, no one ever says thank you, hi. And that was literally how it all started.
Yeah.
And then we were, having a bit of messenger banter one day, and instead of pressing the send, I pressed the phone.
Oh, right.
And
so like accidentally?
Accidentally.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm going, holy shit, oh, it's ringing. I'm
like abort mission.
It was literally abort mission, because I thought, we've been talking a lot, and I don't want him to think I'm stalking him.
Even you were, let's face it.
But then he rings me back.
I was working in a factory at the time in Sydney, and I had those headsets on.
Yeah,
and we weren't allowed to talk. I was in a factory.
I didn't even know that. I thought you were at home.
No.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I was in the factory, and boss wasn't happy. And I think I spoke to you for a good couple
2 hours.
Yeah. And the thing was, what was refreshing was that, there was no, I wasn't trying to impress her. I was just like hanging out as a mate. How you going? And when I just moved to the coast as well, and it was a little bit like, there was banter, but then there was real conversations on the phone. And as I had a few short relationships in that time, and it was like, I'd ring Carol up, and it was a totally different conversation to these girls. You know what I mean? That was like, it was just like, oh, this is interesting. And I wasn't even thinking, oh, I want to date this girl, at the time. It was
but you could identify the difference, and
energy was different.
Come across people like that where I can jump on the phone and just have the most authentic conversation with them.
Yep.
And you're not trying to impress each other. It's just like you're talking rubbish. I almost swore.
Trying
to be good today,
absolutely.
Not but then it's funny because you obviously had Carol as a friend, but then you had people that you were dating.
Yeah.
And you could clearly identify the differences in those relationships.
Majorly. And I think that, well, what's the saying? Energy doesn't lie. So when we actually met physically, you wanted to have a massage with me, because I do massage work as well.
Yeah.
And you had a session with me, and we felt there was a really good connection there. Still not thinking anything else. It was just like, it was still very. It was in the January.
Yeah.
And it was like.
He basically, because I had moved house, and I was super stressed, and he just said, you should just come and have a massage with me. And I just went, no, not doing it.
Sound like me, like,
no. Because all my girlfriends had really bad experiences with male massage people.
I'm very much like that. So
I just went, no, not doing it. And then I turned around and I said, no, you're too expensive anyway. And anyway, he said, well, what if I let you pay it off? You're my friend. You can pay it off. And I just went, oh. Now that I can't say no.
He's overcome your objection.
Yeah, he has overcome my objection very quickly. And I just thought, you know what? I haven't really done any self-care for a little while, because I'd moved house, was doing all of that. And then when I met him, he opened the door and he gave me a hug, and that hug felt like home. And
Isn't
it was like,
funny how you just know in something so small?
Yeah.
Something as small as a hug.
It was instant.
Either way, it can, like, you can hug someone and go, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Or when you hold that person, you
Yeah.
just, like, your body knows more than your heart and
Oh
your
my
mind
God,
does,
yes.
right?
Yes.
That's the
Yeah.
thing.
Goosebumps again.
Yeah. And that was like, you know, and that was when we met for the first time, because we didn't even do video calls or anything. It was just a phone call or messenger.
Yeah.
And then when we met face to face, and he, you know, opened the door, and it was like an old friend, like, you know,
a familiar.
But it was familiar.
Yeah.
But it just felt safe.
Yes.
It
And
felt so safe.
That's an important word there, being safe with someone, because I've been on dates with people where my body just felt like I was riddled with anxiety.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe I was just nervous because I just met them, but then when I walked away, I was like, no, my body's telling me something here.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between like excited butterflies, right? But when I was like this the whole time, I couldn't relax, I was so stiff, and I'm like, my body is telling me something here.
Yeah.
So they're important things to listen to.
Yeah.
Trust your gut, trust your instinct. If you don't feel safe around someone, listen to that.
Yeah. Before I got into that other relationship, well, actually we were it was a long distance relationship, and we talked about him moving to the coast. So he was a bit further away. Anyway, that all fell into place. And the week before he moved up, I had this dream, and the message in the dream was, Carol, be careful.
Oh, okay.
Everything is not all that it seems.
And this was about Luke?
No.
Oh, the toxic. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring you into that. No, that was the toxic one, right?
Yeah,
okay. That's very specific.
And it was really
you can't
specific.
Ignore that.
Well, I did.
I've done that too. I can't
did.
say. I've done that too.
I did.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I woke up the next day and I wrote it down. Everything is not what it seems. And I looked at it and I went, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's already it's already organised. He's moving in. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Oh my God.
Because you just focused on the parts that you wanted to see, which we've all done. We've all had that loneliness and that need for a companion where we dismiss everything, you know, all these red flags
but
that are like flying around us.
The other side to that though is, if I had gone with my gut and just gone, cut it, would I be here?
I believe everything happens for a reason like that too.
Timing's everything.
The experiences that I have been through in my life, as much as they sucked and they were very confronting and they were very challenging, I would not be the person I am today. I would not be sitting on this couch having these conversations with people like yourselves. None of my life would be how it is today. And I think, like, when you look back and reflect, they're the best things that could have ever happened to me, because it was the wake-up call that I needed to go through that healing process, to get to know who I am, what I want, what do I enjoy, like what are my hobbies, what are the things that I enjoy doing. And when I started going on dating apps, people would ask me, like, what do you do for fun? Like, what are your hobbies? I had no idea, because I'd focused so much energy on my children and things like what we mentioned before. So that's bringing back to that importance of knowing yourself. But for you, like, again, if you didn't go through that, like you said, you wouldn't be with Luke. So I guess that's a very good message for people that might be going through something really challenging at the moment, is see the lessons in it.
There's always a light.
And grow from it, right?
There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Grow from it. Use it as an opportunity to grow into something better.
And the thing is, right, you know, there are a lot of people out there who are really in a hurry to be with someone.
I was going to bring this up as well, and I'm glad that you did.
Yeah. And I mean, I was 45 when I met Luke.
Okay, it gives me hope. I'm 42, so
you know. I mean, I was 45.
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
But do you think, okay, so there's a lot of people, say, in their early 20s where, for women in particular, we've got this expectation around having children and, you know, there's a tick-tick-tock of the clock and, you know, things like that. So they're in a hurry to settle down, get married, to have children. And I see my older children who think very differently to that. They don't want children. They're happy just doing their own thing, and I respect that. Whereas when I was younger, it was conditioned to me that by 25, I had to be married, have kids, own a house.
I was married at 21.
Well, I had 2 children by 19.
Yeah.
And I was a single parent at that point. So for me, I had that pressure on myself that I'm like, okay, well, I've already done the children. I need to tick the house and the husband now.
Yeah.
So then
the checklist.
I bought a house by myself first, so I ticked that off my own box, and then I'm like, God, now I need a husband.
Yeah.
You know, I need to complete that picture. And I think that's where people are hurrying into things so much, is that they want that instant gratification and they're not willing to put in the work to set up that foundation. And I can say that from my own personal experience as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I was married at 25. And
when you look back at our children, how young is that, right?
Yes, well, I mean, I look at my youngest son, who's 21, and I said to him a little while ago, I went, hey, Nick, I was married at your age. And he just looked and he goes, Mum, I don't know how.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how.
Because how much are you still growing and changing at that age? Like, my eldest son's 25.
Yeah.
And he's with a partner, but like, I had 2 children by that point. I was ready to have my 3rd.
Yeah.
I was about to buy a house.
I left home at 16.
I did too. Yeah, I think I was 15.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember watching my children get to like 17 and then 19 when I had my first and second child.
It's like,
and they're just chilling out at home playing Xbox.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, so that's what it's like to, you know, have your teenage years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel that
different.
It's for people who are really looking to, you know, find themselves but also connect with a partner. It's like there is urgency, of course, as life, you know, is not long. It's quite short if we think about it. Time goes quickly, but the more that you keep, you know, developing with inside, you know, you will grow. You will find someone that you can grow with, and I think that's the part of, like, you know, have the awareness, but saying that we're not trying to be perfect. A bit like you said about the whole dating thing. You know, you're all dressed up and you've got this facade on that I'm going to be a particular person. It's more about, we always say we're aiming for excellence, so we're improving every day. So when we're improving every day, we're always going to be our best version, not perfect, because there are days where we fall into our humanness and we have our goop, but it's more about when you accept that within yourself and also within your potential partner or friend, then there's one big box that's ticked straight away. It's like, well, there's none of this high expectations of what you expect that person to be. As long as they are doing their best to grow, well, that's all you can ever wish for.
Yeah, there's that expectation versus reality, and I think that's people put a lot of pressure on the expectation of what maybe the vision in their head of what they see that relationship to be, but then the reality doesn't quite meet that expectation.
And that's where you need the foundation of the friendship. Because if you're just there purely because, oh, they're really good looking, you know, and that ticks.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, it's like,
oh, tick, muscles tick.
Muscles, whatever, you know. It's like, that's great.
Arsehole tick.
Yeah. But it's more about, as you know, as you get older.
That just took me back.
But as you get older, unless that guy's going to be working out until he's 85 years old, well, the muscles are going to go. Hey.
Well, that's the thing, is that physical appearance is one thing. Like, obviously, you need to be attracted to someone. But it needs to go so much deeper than that. And when people
they may have it all here, but they may not have it up here.
And that's when people say to me, what do I find attractive? It's the mind that I find attractive, because I find if the mind is right, then everything else is a follow-on effect.
But in saying that, though, it's really important to actually have a physical...
You do need a physical attraction, 100%.
Because, I mean, I've done the whole, you know, he treats me nice. This was that relationship. He treats me nice. You know, he says all the right things. Is he someone that I would be attracted to? He's probably not what I would normally be attracted to. But that's okay, because he treats me nice, he says all the right things, but at the end of the day, it's not enough.
I've had that too, the same thing, where it's like, oh, they're kind and they're this and that, and you sort of push aside the attraction. You're like, it will grow.
No.
It doesn't.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so that is really important, and people's way of being attracted to someone is going to vary for individual people, but it can't be based on one element, right? It can't just be based on their physical appearance because things change. Like, especially as women, like I've gone through having 4 children, my body's changed a lot. You know, these are things that it's a natural evolution of who we are. Hormones. You know, we're never going to look the same as when we first met, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean let yourself go and be a slob. Like, you know, we're all still
Well,
working
just
hard.
importance about, you know, still going to the gym or whatever your form of exercise is, to be your best version.
Yeah.
And
not aiming for perfection, because that's unrealistic.
Because there are some weeks I would run 40 Ks and other weeks I run 20.
Yeah.
It's like, well...
And I don't even do that.
I'm like, damn, okay. I walked 2 Ks yesterday.
But the thing is, that's what I enjoy to do,
Yeah.
you know, and that's and I love getting outdoors. That's my treat to myself.
Yeah.
So I can fill my cup up so I can be my best version, show up for our business, for our relationship. So we find that balance of all the things, you know, and then sometimes it does get a bit imbalanced in regards to, oh, we're working too much here, but at the same time, we've also scheduled or even doing impromptu things of like, all right, today we're going to go here. And I've surprised that with Carol many a times, like even basic things. So it's like, if you really want to connect with your partner, ask them the question, have they ever seen a sunrise? Have they ever seen snow? Have they ever gone on long trips and have a day trip out and just do sightseeing? Like the simple things. And it's not
they don't
always...
have to cost a lot of money, right? It can be so basic. Like,
and I ask those questions to Carol.
One of my favourite experiences that I had with a partner, we were in the back of his beat up old van on a blanket under the stars listening to music and just talking for hours. Didn't cost a cent, and we'll just buy this river. Like, I love that stuff.
Simple things.
Simple.
So it's not like okay, you might go on the expensive dinner or whatever, but...
Don't get me wrong, I love that too.
I
we've done a few of
dressed up.
That's important, but it's also the simple things are important too.
Yeah.
That's part of the foundation of that friendship. Of like, when you didn't see snow, it's like, all right, let's go to the Blue Mountains for the day, and we're doing snow fights.
I've never seen snow.
And
he, you know, and he said to me, oh, when was the last time you've seen snow? I went, I've never seen snow. So as soon as it was cold enough, it's like, let's go on a day trip. So he took me and Nicholas and Lee.
Yeah, my son Lee,
And we had snow fights and
in Oberon.
we had the best day.
And how beautiful is it to create those experiences together of...
My son still talks about it.
I mean, you sort of get to a certain age where you might have experienced a lot of different things, but there'll be something that you have not yet experienced together. And then to create that experience together.
Well, I had never sat and watched a sunrise.
Wow.
Until I met Luke.
Wow.
The simple things.
Like really
So
simple things. I mean, and that's something that we love to do.
Yeah, that's your thing.
Get up and go swimming at the beach at stupid o'clock in the morning and watch the sunrise.
And so a question that I had as well was, people will say it's healthy to argue in relationships. I disagree with this. I think it's healthy to not go along and agree with everything that your partner says and to challenge them in a very respectful way. But to say that arguments are healthy, they're not healthy, right? It's not normal. Like, obviously you'll get upset with each other from time to time, but to yell and fight
what's an argument?
Yeah, well, from the conversations I've had with people is like yelling and that is not normal.
No.
And we need to take that away from people
Challenge,
believing that is normal, right?
Challenge, yes. Like you can challenge someone.
Disagreements, yes.
Yeah, we've disagreed
Arguments,
on things.
no. They are not normal.
Yeah.
I think in regards to the scale of, for us, you know, on the negative side, frustration is probably where it's got to.
Yeah.
And it hasn't gone any further than that.
Yeah.
We've never screamed at each other. We've never we've never yelled at each other.
Well, you got a black stick that you beat me with, but
we've never.
That might be a different kind of black
story. Okay, we've never had.
That's the paddle.
You know, I'm leaving, get my keys. Like that used to happen a lot in the last relationship. I'd, leave.
And did you perceive that as being normal? Because I've been in that situation, and to me that was normal for me based on, in experiences
that relationship.
I've had.
Yes, we've never had slamming doors. We've never had swearing at each other, like never ever.
No, it's just gone to frustration, but then speaking your truth, going back to that part will come full circle.
Communication.
The communication part, and say, Carol, I really feel I'm not heard at this moment. Can we just stop?
Have a chat.
Let's have a chat for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I've got to leave and play a gig soon, but I really want to just sort this out now. Is that okay?
And that's a big thing too, not leaving something unresolved.
Yeah. And it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
It's the tonality.
But that comes from two people who have clearly done the work on themselves, right?
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, we've experienced that in our previous relationships. So when we spoke about, all right, we want to create a distance.
Do things different.
Do things differently.
Yeah. But that's making a conscious effort within yourself.
Yes.
To say, okay, I've been in that situation where that was toxic and it didn't work for these reasons. And it's acknowledging your own mistakes as a person, looking within yourself and saying, how am I going to make an effort to do that differently next time, and doing that work on yourself.
And we talk about that at Relationships Day, and we are having that event happening like next month.
How exciting.
I think that, the things that we share in our personal life is going to be on the slide. There's going to be discussions within the room of all the things, as we say, all the things that has happened within those people's relationships. Some people are coming to Relationships Day because it's the last step. Otherwise, they're breaking up. We've had those scenarios. We've had other people who are single are saying that, I am looking for a partner, but I want to work on myself first. And there's some people there that are purely just there to learn more about relationships in general.
So like work and friends and family.
Okay. So, but like, I mean, we did a relationships event where we went to one as a participant. And for us, it was to up level. Like, we were in a really good space. But it was just to up level. And we had a lot of people going, why are you here? Because you look like you've got your shit together. And I get, but we can make it better.
We want to maintain that.
We want to maintain it, and we want to make it better. So we took a lot of learnings from that, and we've brought that to our own Relationships Day event. But we ran an event back in 2018, I think it was. And I know what you're going to say. So we had this event where we had, quite a few couples in the room who were in crisis. And at the end of the day, like, we did all these exercises, and it was a brilliant day. At the end of the day, we handed out this survey of feedback. And one couple wrote, Luke and Carol are so fake, I can't stand it. No one can be that happy. And it was like...
How did you take that? Did you just go, hang on, what?
Well, the way we took it was that sometimes when you are happy, your happiness triggers the unhappiness in other people.
Because they just crave that. They want it so badly.
They want it so bad.
I get that. I get triggered by couples. And I'm not going to lie, I still do. I get triggered by family events where there's the husbands, the wives and the kids, and I'm there by myself with my kids. I get triggered by that. Not going to lie.
But are they really happy? That's the thing. And sometimes you, without even going down that rabbit hole, because we could be here for hours. And Mr. Cameraman might go, I'm going for a sleep for 4 hours.
Chris is like, wrap it up, guys.
but it's more about the if you just focus on you and without the comparison. I understand that thing.
No, but a lot of people do compare themselves to other people based on the illusion that they've created in their mind.
That's right. What a relationship is supposed to look like.
What is it supposed to be?
The picket fence with the 2.5 kids. But when you look, and you've experienced going through divorce and relationships, and you're on the other side now, and we're going, all right, well, we've experienced all this stuff. We're when we met, we were in our 40s, and now we're in our 50s. And it's like we're now showing people that it is possible to have an amazing relationship, A, with self, and B, with the partner, I wouldn't say of your dreams, but you could say of your dreams, that you're just the person that you desire to be. And we've said this in our Relationships Day, is like, if you want to attract a certain person, you've got to be that person.
You've got to be
this
that.
This is something that I talk about all the time, and I had to notice that in myself as well when I was thinking about the kind of partner that I wanted. I thought, am I the person that that partner would want, and I realized I wasn't.
Yeah.
And that's a big realization to have. It's like, well, if that's what I want, who am I?
Yeah. And when we do our Relationships Day event, these are all the things that we talk about. So we talk about the vision of, you know, where are you now? Where do you want to be? We even look at love languages, because
Luke just sent me a test for the love language. I'd never thought about it before.
That for us is an absolute, well, for us, that was a game changer.
Yeah.
And again, I can go back to that other relationship, and in regard to vision, right? I'll give you a love language story and a vision story. So the vision, I said to him, what do you want? Where do you want to be with me in the future? And he turned around and he said, I just want to grow old with you. That,
for some people, that's all they want to hear though, right?
Yeah. But at the end of the day, so in between growing old, what are you going to do?
Yeah, so we're just like skipping to the dead
like,
part.
let's just exactly, right? I just want to grow old with you. So that's not very motivating. That's not a turn on at all. That's an actual turn off.
Yeah.
And it was a big red flag. And I thought, wow, this guy's not really that motivated to really do anything except grow old. Okay. And then the other thing was, you know, I discovered love languages, and I discovered the love language quiz, and I just went, yes, okay, we're not having a great time right now, but maybe this will help.
Yeah.
So I was striving to do all the things to make it better, to up level. And I did the quiz and I went, right, yep, okay, that makes sense to me. I just found this thing, would you like to do it? And he just went, that's the biggest load of blip, 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 blip I've ever seen. I'm not doing that, that's crap.
This is something, again, I was thinking about this morning about successful relationships, is that you need two willing participants.
100%.
Two people that want to be in that relationship and want to grow together.
Yes.
And both have that willingness to make it work.
Yes. And the other thing is what we say, you hear so many couples say, you know, 50-50, you know, you do your 50% and I'll do my 50%. Everything's 50-50.
I was that person.
It's not. But it's 100-100.
But then I also, Brené Brown brought up something really interesting because I had that conversation with someone recently about 50-50 and they challenged me on it. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm wrong. I'm wrong because it's not 50-50. And what Brené Brown said is that someday, say you will bring 80% to the table and you've only got 20%. And then you need to help a bit more on that day. You know, and then some days you'll bring 100% and Carol's got nothing to bring. And it's about balancing each other out and helping each other on those days and knowing each day you may not all bring 100% to the table. Obviously you don't want someone who's bringing 100% of the time.
That's right.
There's got to be that balance.
But I also like to say, look, if you can put in your best effort to be your 100%, and I will do my best effort to be my 100%.
But your 100% might only be 20% that day. Like if that's all you can bring that day for whatever reason, you are still bringing 100% because you're giving all you've got to give that day, right?
Exactly.
And I think, in regards to this theme of relationships today, is that you, I was going to say, like, you got to have an awareness. Most people, when they come to either, you know, we'll call it therapy, right? They come to the therapy session, or they come to an event. Most of the time, they don't have an awareness to build on that.
Do you mean like self-awareness or relationship awareness?
Both.
All of the above.
Both. So when they've got this awareness of like, well, how can I improve myself to be the better version, or how can I show up better in relationships? They come to the event and they're like, we've got a book here that we use on the day, and it's like, they look through it and they go,
love it.
They go, oh, I didn't know about that. And we put real simple things in there, like simple tools to better their relationship. Now, here's the thing. I know there are some people that have come to our events and they've ran with that book and they're smashing life with their partner. And there's other people that they've got the book thanks guys, and then they'll put it away
Yeah.
and never look at it again.
And that's it. You can give people all the tools in the world, but unless they're willing to pick up that tool and actually use it.
So the willingness to actually create change, they've got to want to change. So we've had scenarios where, you know, there's a troubled relationship, and then, like, for example, the wife might go, I really want to go to this event. The guy's like, okay, and then
just goes along.
Goes along, but he's really like not interested, and they're like flicking through their phone or whatever during the day. But if they just put just a little, like even an extra 5% effort in, they'll make those changes. They won't be having half those problems. So we would rather, you know, for us, when we talk about any sort of problem, it's like, let's talk about we call it the presenting problem.
Yeah.
The presenting problem is X.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's very masculine to go, all right, well, what's the solution? Now, sometimes I say to Carol, listen, can you just stop with the solution? I can work it out. All right, that's my job. Right, is to work the solution. Yes, I'm happy that you can provide feedback for the solution. I'll certainly take that on board. But it's like, how about you allow, you know, that masculine within me to provide the solution. Now, sometimes the solutions aren't always the best one. I could make a mistake. Now, I've made multiple mistakes, not within our relationship, but, you know, things that are external. I'll go, Carol, oh, listen, I made a mistake here, and we'll talk about that. We'll unpack it. And then we move forward. Right?
We don't hold, you know, we don't hold on to.
So that's important too, because people make mistakes even in relationships, and I'm not talking about cheating and things like that.
That's another level.
That's
a whole other level, but
that's another 4 hours, Chris.
But I'm talking about like small fixable things.
Absolutely.
Like, don't hang on to them. Don't keep bringing it up every.
That was my first marriage.
I was about to say every argument that you have, but you shouldn't even be at the point of an argument.
That's right.
Don't keep bringing it in, like, let it go and move on from it.
And when you do, and you discuss that particular decision that went south, and go, all right, well, that wasn't a great decision. It didn't affect us personally. It was like something external. But then it's
sort of like, oh, that's disappointing. All right, move on.
Yeah, and we'll unpack it and go. And like, I think for me, I've probably, you know, give myself an uppercut more than what Carol was. Goes, oh, geez, I didn't really do that one really well.
That's your self-awareness too.
Yeah, but then I'll bring it into my awareness, and then I then personally will deal with that. And I might even have a session with one of my practitioners and coaches that I'm connected with. Unpack that with them. That's external to our relationship, because we both do the same kind of work. It's like I'm not there.
We've got to have our own go-to people.
Yeah.
How important is that? I'm so glad that you bring that up. Is that I think a lot of
we can't be at each other's everything.
No, and that's what everyone does, right? In relationships, that you expect that person is your support network for everything, and you put so much pressure on that other person. I've done it. The other person's done it to me.
You can't be the coach.
Can't
be the coach. You can't put the coach out all the time. But most importantly, and we do talk about this at Relationships Day as well, is that allowing the feminine to empty. So, for example, and this happens multiple times, is, how was your day today, babe? And she'll go, blah, 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 all the things, right?
Let it out. You need to.
Empty out. And allow them to empty out, as long as it doesn't go for 14 hours, but they're emptying out. And then, your partner will say, how was your day, Luke or George, whoever? It was okay. And then the feminine allowing that to say that's okay, because they're not trying to hide anything. That's just how they respond. Most men would
go, but what else? But what else? But what else?
Yeah, because men and women are very different. Let's face it.
Yes.
But when the masculine is in that position where they're more into their feminine, they will need to do the emptying out.
Yeah.
And this is that polarity.
And that's where it's going to shift between that masculine and feminine.
That's why if you have that imbalance, and there's emasculation that starts to happen within a relationship, the men will be doing more of the emptying out, and then the woman will be like very short and sharp. So it's like
me.
And because you're used. Because
I have to be.
Well, that's the thing. And to be respectful to any sort of single parent, it's like
you got to do both.
You got to do that role of both.
I'm more in the masculine though.
Well, that's been getting shit done. Like, let's get shit done.
Because I have to be at the moment. I would love to be able to get more into my feminine, and I really try to.
Yeah.
But because of my position, I have to live very much
But then if you've got that awareness there, there's going to be some days where it's like, all right, I really need to do self-care. That gets into my feminine. Or instead of doing that, that weight training, how about I just do a yoga session today, or do I do
having that balance.
Pilates or whatever? That's more into my feminine flow rather than just doing, get shit done all the time. And same for the masculine.
That's been a big thing for me, because it was only the last few years that I've understood masculine and feminine energy, because I thought masculine and feminine was man, woman.
No.
And then I had a man talking to me. He messaged me on Instagram and he started talking to me about masculine and feminine energy, and I was really offended. And he's like, are you in your masculine or your feminine? And I was like, what do you mean? So I'm like Googling it, and he talked to me about being more in my feminine energy, and we have teachers that come into our lives at random times.
Yeah.
And then I started really exploring what that meant, and then now I do have that awareness, and I try and balance it out more. But I think there's a lot of people that don't understand what masculine and feminine
and
energy
we
is.
touch on that in the relationships day as well, because I know when Luke and I got together as a couple, I had my walls. My walls were quite high, even though I had this beautiful trust with him as the friend. My walls were still up there.
Higher than 5'4".
Yes, higher than 5'4", and it was like he had to punch through for me to then be able to fall back into this feminine energy. To be able to then lean into him and to be able to trust.
Yeah, and that can be really hard, especially for people that have been through trauma and things like that, to then fall into that feminine energy and kind of go,
Yeah.
Well, that's all about feeling safe as well.
Yeah.
So, and also on the flip side, for men to feel safe, it's not always about the woman to feel safe. If a guy's been through, being emasculated, they've also got to feel safe. And that was certainly a conversation or two that we had before.
But well, you said to me very early on, it was the first time in his life in a relationship where, and you use the word allowed, I have been allowed to be the man in the relationship.
I've been guilty of that because like I said, I've lived so much in my masculine and I've always had to step up that I probably do take that away. And that's something I've had to become very aware of.
And the challenge with that is that the polarity becomes unbalanced. So if you think about a man in his masculine who's attracted to a beautiful feminine woman, if she's in her masculine, you've got two masculines butting heads.
Always, it doesn't
work.
I get that.
Yeah, so we do touch on that. But there, like this day that we're putting together in April, there is so much.
What about intimacy?
Well, we talk about the things that take away from intimacy, but intimacy is very important. It's, staying connected. Even when you don't want to be intimate, sometimes it's a really good idea just to even lean into each other and have a cuddle.
Yeah, so when we talk about intimacy, we're not just talking about like sex.
No,
we're talking about hand holding or a hug or
feet. We like touch feet.
Physical touch.
Physical touch is one of the five love. It's one of the five love languages. Physical touch is Luke's top love language. And for him, someone that has physical touch as their top love language, if they don't get that, they can feel absolutely rejected.
What's your love language?
Words of affirmation.
Okay, so mine's the same as that. Which I've just found out thanks to Luke. Which I was surprised by that. I thought it'd be, because, in the questionnaire it's like about expensive gifts and all these things, and I thought it'd be like, I'm like, oh, geez, it's going to come across like she's, spoiled or something.
Gifts was last on mine. But so words of affirmation. So words of affirmation, and then mine is physical touch. His is physical touch and words of affirmation. So what we teach at our relationships day is that it's really important for you, your partner's love language, and you use that, because when they're getting their love language back to them, their cup is full, they feel loved, therefore they're going to reciprocate. And
that's where that intimacy will naturally come into it too.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of people that, don't value intimacy in relationships.
And
and then there's obviously going to be different levels of intimacy in each relationship of what's normal. Right?
So but what's normal?
Exactly. That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Is that I think people have these expectations or compare themselves to other people in terms of intimacy as well. So setting that, I mean, what's your view on that? Is there a normal, or is it just dependent on each different person?
I think it's dependent.
There's so many variations on that too.
Yeah. But it is important, because you need to have that connection, because you know, when the intimacy goes, it's usually then other things fall apart. But then when other things are falling apart, it comes back to the intimacy as well. You know, so when you're, you know, yelling and screaming and fighting,
you don't want to be intimate.
You don't want to be intimate with someone at all. You know, and we usually, you know, I mean, from my own experience, you know, when you're in another room and you've done the separate bedrooms, like that's, you know, you're on your way out.
So, okay, I'm glad you brought this up, right? I love this, and I could, poor Chris over here, I could talk for hours and hours about so many different things, but I know couples that live in separate bedrooms. I know couples that live in separate houses.
Yeah, wow.
And this is becoming very normal, and I had a conversation with someone about the traditional relationships, and that people are kind of steering away from a traditional relationship where they're living in separate houses.
Wow.
And they're like, no, this is how we want to live. And I've had it said to me to never live with someone again, that to always maintain a separate life.
Wow.
Yes, I've had it said to me. And I don't know at this point in time how I'll ever be able to live with someone again. But obviously the right person, you should want to be in the same room as them. You 100%. Should want to have a life together, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a bit of a red flag too, is that if you don't want to live in the same house as each other,
I mean, I love the fact that I can wake up next to my husband in the morning and have a cuddle. Like that, you know, that's really important.
Yeah, so for these people that are choosing that, I'm not disrespecting
well, what are they
them,
avoiding?
But that's right, there has to be something deeper to that, right?
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I'd love to talk to someone that has that, because
and let's welcome that in to maybe bring someone on for that conversation.
Let's welcome that, because you know, our normal and someone else's normal completely different. So I guess whatever works, right?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, is there something deeper to that? Are they avoiding things, or is it just that that's what works for them? I don't know. I don't know if that's maybe something that needs to be delved into a bit deeper.
Yeah, I've never really had that conversation,
I've had it a lot
especially
with people
the separate houses thing.
No, I've had this a lot with people lately.
Yeah.
Your face is like, what is this?
Yeah,
It's rubbish.
But then again,
it's funny because I've had a lot of conversations about these different
the way I take that, the way I would take that is, you know, is there two people that have had such a tumultuous, is that the word, tumultuous? Breakup in regard to assets. I'm keeping my assets, you keep yours.
It's a financial thing.
And then we'll just be a couple, but what's yours is yours, what's mine is mine, and there's nothing that's ours.
So this is,
that's
I would say the people that I am aware of that are in that situation, they have their own assets. And they're very fearful of losing those assets. But what I would also say to that, because I have lost all my assets to a person. But what I would say to that is that if, with the knowledge and everything that we have now, if I was to enter into a relationship with someone who I was fearful of them taking my assets, that's the wrong person.
Because for us it was not really a massive conversation.
No, because we didn't have.
We didn't have the houses. That was sort of.
Do you think it would be different though if you both came into it owning your own houses? Do you think that would have been a different scenario? Do you think there would be a level of protectiveness there?
No.
Really?
No, I don't think so, because, you know, we
have that trust there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And trust is another key word in a relationship as well.
And again, that's another conversation.
Yeah.
So, Yeah.
But I'm really excited that, you know, we've ran this event. This is our 4th Relationships Day that we've ran.
What date is it? Is it in April? Did you say?
And we've done one in 2018.
Oh yeah, righto. Yes.
The 28th of April at Mingara Recreational Club. We normally get between 20 to 40 people, so it's not a huge number. So it means it's more of an intimate kind of space.
Yeah.
You know, food, entertainment, it's all inclusive of the ticket price.
And how do they get tickets for this event?
We've got a website called relationshipsday.net is the website. We can probably put the link in.
I'll put the link in the show notes as well for people to get in touch.
Yeah. And I think what's really important is that if they just come there with it, like just an opportunity to learn.
An open mind.
Have an open mind.
Yeah. And embrace whatever they're presented with.
Yeah, put their ego aside for a moment.
Leave it at the door.
Yep.
And any sort of arguments at the door, and just be there, be open to learn.
Yeah. And it's a safe space.
Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. You know, whether it's our personal development or whether it's within a relationship, if nothing changes, well, how can you expect the other person to change if you don't want to change, A, and B, you're not willing, like the willingness to change. You know, we talk, you know, a lot about teachability index. It's like, well, you know, if you've got the willingness to change, well, you're already up there. You're going to be teachable. You're going to be like a 10. But if there's no willingness to change, well, you can go to all the events or do all the trainings, and your teachability is like a 2.
And you've got to put it into practice.
You got to put it into practice.
That's why we supply everyone with this book, because what we do is we work on the day. Couples actually get to talk to each other about
and maybe the first time ever, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, we're really proud of this. Like, we're super proud of the fact that we've put this together. I mean, we're coming from a very different space. Like, we are not coming from a space of teaching where we've been married for 30 years. We're coming from a space of we've been married, we've had toxic relationships, and then we've worked on each other, and then we've found each other. It's a very different, it's a different teaching.
And I think there's a lot of other people that can relate to that
very
much. And even if people have been together for 30 years, there's so much that they can still learn.
Absolutely,
you know, to reconnect.
And everything that's in here, we have worked on. So we're not just getting a textbook and putting it together and going, here you are. Everything that's in here, we have worked on, we've talked about, we've done the exercises, we've gone through them. And, you know, and it's going to be an interactive day. We've got live entertainment as well, but there are going to be exercises that are going to be, you know, that will push you a little bit, but it's all about trusting each other. And, you know, we're probably doing some things that you may not have done before, but it's fun. It's a fun day. It's a day where things may come up and things may bubble to the surface, and you've got to be in that space of allowing whatever comes up to come up, and we can address it. So it's like an open forum, and it's our job.
A very safe space.
It's a safe space. It's judgment-free, but it's our job to help you be the best version of yourself, whether you are a single or whether you are a couple. And I mean, we've had people do this day and then go, we need to do more work, and they come and work with us together.
Amazing.
So, you know, we have a relationship program that we talk about on the day where they work with us one-on-one as well.
Amazing.
Which has been very successful.
So I'm going to put all the links to that in the show notes as well. But I also know relationships isn't just everything that you guys work on.
No.
So tell me a bit more about everything that you do for anyone that's interested in getting in touch with you to work on other things. I know you do the NLP.
Yes, so we run a training company.
Okay.
So we teach and certify. So we teach NLP, timeline therapy, and hypnosis as well. We also work with private clients on a number of
many presenting problems.
Yeah, many presenting problems. And, you know, as we know, someone will come to you with a problem, but the problem is not really the problem. So
the Band-Aid.
The problem is here, but the real problem is down here. There. So did you want to add?
Just briefly. We also had last year we birthed our NDS programs for a brand called Heal Connect. So you want to see Heal Connect floating around very soon, and we do have our businesses located in Coffs Harbour, Central Coast, and also in Melbourne for that. So that's slowly coming together. Doing support work, group programs. And that should be the group program should be launching over the next 4 to 6 weeks. All fingers crossed. There's lots of things to put together. So and it's really about our intention is to bring support to the community in different ways. And through my experience, by having a neurodiverse child who's now a young man, I've had lots of learnings through that to bring together the support that the community needs. I've had first-hand experience in that. And that also is interconnected with relationships as well. So it's
so we have lots of tools.
Lots of stuff,
in regard to our courses, that's more so for people who maybe want to have a career change, or they themselves want to get out into the community and help people as well. So NLP, we're teaching things like language and communication. That's the biggest thing, and this is how all of this was born. Timeline therapy is around helping people to cut the cord of past emotion to past events to help them have a beautiful future. And then hypnosis is about tying it all in together. But we help people with quit smoking, we help people with weight loss. There is so much that
I would love you guys to hypnotise me.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's another
Maybe
day.
we can do that live.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
So if anyone wants to see me get hypnotised, like and subscribe. Drop a comment.
Yeah, drop a comment.
And I will put myself in the firing line. I'm open to
and
anything,
we can talk
whatever you want to do.
And I mean, the thing is, we can talk about hypnosis because a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about what it is and what it isn't. And there is so much that, that's another rabbit hole.
That's not dancing like a chicken.
Absolutely. But thank you for having us.
It's been amazing, and honestly, we could talk for hours and hours. So we're definitely going to have to get you to come back.
Just need to pay a rise.
So I'm going to put all the links to everything for you guys in the show notes.
Awesome.
Anyone that's looking to connect, you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're on TikTok from memory, not so much.
So much we need to do more.
So Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, it's probably our main ones,
Great. And you've got your websites as well.
Yes.
And Relationship Day is coming up 28th of April.
At Mingara.
Get your tickets. It's going to be amazing. I'm really excited to see what comes out of that
Thank
as well.
you.
But thank you so much for coming on today.
We had a great time. That was great.
I know, so did I. I love it. It's awesome.
Easy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.